Join Gator great Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We're joined by Bevo today on the program. What do you think about that, JC?
I think you suck. That's what I think. I do like it, though. I mean, I got to say, it's cool. Look. Why can't you say that they're number one? Why does Georgia get to be number one for not playing a game yet? And Texas has the best win in college football in their school history since 82. You know, they haven't beaten Alabama since 1982. And yet they have the best win of the season and they're not number one. Why aren't they number one, QB?
I don't know. I don't really care. I just love Bevo. And they took it to your squad.
Dude, come on. I mean, they played a great game, but Alabama played some, this is not the same thing as last year. If we're going to open up with this, we'll do it right now. 2 turnovers led to 10 points. That was the difference in the game. And 2 touchdowns got called back because of penalties. Dude, you can't win that way. And
you can't. Just like Florida can't have all those silly penalties against Utah.
I mean, 2 touchdowns called back because of penalties. And 100 yards of penalties, 2 bad interceptions. Listen, let's give credit to that quarterback. Ewers. He's trimmed down. He cut his hair. Not that that matters, but he did trim down. He had his best game. I mean, he was the first quarterback to have 250 or more yards and 2 touchdowns at Alabama since Nick Saban took the job in 2007. That's kind of amazing if you ask me. Texas gave them their first double-digit loss since 2004. That's also amazing. And it snapped Alabama's 21-game winning streak. So that was the game of the weekend. They deserved to win. Listen, they played great football. They really didn't make any mistakes at Texas. So that's what you have to do. Your quarterback has to play great, and you have to turn the ball over. And they did that, and they look really good for the Big 12. I looked at their schedule last night. All of their tougher games, if you regard the schedule after week 2, are at home. They should be able to handle Oklahoma like they did last year. I can't see why they wouldn't run the table. I just can't. But it's a long season, right? We know that. And for Alabama, I would say that might be the best team on their schedule. So they've got to clean up some things, but the SEC West is still there. So
yeah, it is. It's wide open. A&M lays an egg, has a big lead, and then gets blown out by the Hurricane.
I'd be more worried about them if I was in the
I think John James Fisher's gone after this year, JC. They're going to get rid of him.
Big payout. That's a big payout.
I mean, it is what it is. They got plenty of money. Brandon says, QB, you need to cut for your promotions. Stop by Bostic and all the Peter Millar shirts were sold out. Really, man, they had a ton the other day.
Wow, they sold them out, man. I mean, somebody figured it out over there, didn't they? Well, they should sell them out. How was that ovation for the golf team? I'm sure it was fantastic. When did they do that? The second quarter?
Well, Fred Biondi did, Mr. Two Bits. He did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's they do the stuff during the quarters. I don't get to hear it. We got a bunch of texts we got to get to here on the Titan Mar text line. Josh says it is time for Bama to bench the running back playing QB. Jalen Milroe is feast or famine. He made some beautiful throws.
He did,
but he's not a quarterback.
He missed a couple of reads, and they jumped the route, took it back again. 2 interceptions accounted for 10 points. That was the difference in the game as far as the score was concerned. But Texas looked really good. Now, Alabama had some good plays as well, but I think that's the best team Bama's going to play. And I think if Alabama wants to look at the other kids, this is a perfect weekend for them against South Florida. They don't need Milroe to beat South Florida. They need to find out who can throw the ball accurately without turning the ball over. You cannot win the SEC turning the ball over. Everybody knows it. I know Saban knows it. We'll see what they do. But Texas, you gotta hand it to him. Sarkisian is so good at finding mismatches and finding advantages for the offense. He did it at USC. He did it at Alabama. And Texas should send Nick Saban a thank you note for allowing Steve Sarkisian to get back into the college football business, because he wasn't in it until Nick called.
A couple of texts on the Titan and more texts. And we'll have Scott Carter in the second portion of today's program. This is from Tommy in Savannah. Says, good morning, guys. Will there be room for a crowd like the one announced for Saturday night's game in the future Swamp plans? Yeah, they had 80. It was packed, man. I was shocked.
Why were you shocked, QB? It's the first game of the season.
JC, you sit here and bitch on a daily basis about McNeese States of the world coming to the game.
First game of the year, dude.
It was packed.
Yeah.
I was shocked. So good for the Gator fans. Here's a text says two TDs called back because of penalty. That's bad coaching, correct? That's what JC said happened to us versus Utah. Bad coaching.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, no, I don't know if it's bad coaching or just dumb players, but you can call. I didn't say Napier was a bad coach because of the penalty.
He's saying that you should call Saban a bad coach.
Listen, sometimes kids hold. They get called for holding. But, dude, I mean, Florida didn't have any touchdowns called back against Utah because they didn't score hardly any. They scored one, and it didn't matter. Alabama had 2 touchdowns that were critical in that game called back because of penalties. You cannot win doing that. It's the same thing I saw last year. Look, the kid threw 2 bad passes, but he threw also a couple of good ones. But Ewers was the story of that game. And when Alabama loses, it's usually 100% because the other team's quarterback has a great day. I mean, a great day. I can lay them all out. The Ole Miss quarterbacks that beat them, Johnny Manziel that beat them, Cardale Jones that beat them. It just goes on and on. Whenever Bama loses, what was the kid from Tennessee last year? He beat them with a career day. That's how you beat Alabama. Your quarterback has to have a career day.
Well, I don't think yours. I mean, I didn't see the game. I just saw highlights. I don't think he had a career day. I just thought he played well. He's a damn good. He's a thrower of the football.
Best game he's had as a Texas quarterback. Best game.
We got Scotty on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. Says, glad we did what we were supposed to do, but I ain't too overhyped about our blowout win over McNeese State. Well, nobody is. Our game this weekend against Tennessee will be very interesting, though.
Yeah. You're going to learn more about the team this weekend, dude.
Gator Josh on YouTube says, Shane, is it fitting that AR's first TD is a run? No, it's not. I thought he played pretty decent yesterday. Not great.
Well, first game in the NFL, I thought they were okay. Yeah. He was pretty good. I mean, look at the rookie quarterbacks in the NFL yesterday. I think he probably had maybe the best of all of them. And, the problem with the Colts, and he's going to learn, and he learned this at the end of the game. If you keep holding on to the ball and you keep running it, you're going to get your bell rung.
He's going to get hurt. He got hurt twice in that game.
And he got hurt yesterday.
Because I try to tell people, I don't care if he's 250 pounds. No. There are trained killers in the National Football League. They're trained killers.
100% right. Those guys, and Jacksonville guy hit him, and he couldn't walk. So, straight. So, Jags look good, man. 31-21 winners. They own the Colts, and they're coming home for Kansas City. So this is going to be a great environment in Jacksonville. I know you're going to have Frank on this week. You probably ought to call him, see if he'll come on.
He'll come on anytime I want him. It just depends on if it fits in our schedule. Andy on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, says, Shane, love watching your show. Gator Nation Football Podcast is a breakdown of all offensive and defensive plays. Have you watched it? What's your opinion of it? Somebody sent me a link of it. I have not watched it. I'm sure they do a great job. But but here's the thing. And I know they do all these shows, Pro Football Focus. I get it. And I think they all do a great job. But they don't know what's being taught in the class in the classroom. That's the thing. Is like I can watch a play. After I watch it a couple of times, I can assume this is what the quarterback, or I can assume what this left guard, or I can assume what the Z receiver is supposed to be doing. But we don't know what he's being taught. So for somebody to sit back there that's not in the meeting rooms, knowing exactly what the reads, what the play call, what the defense is doing, it's hard to do. But I'm sure they do a good job. Nothing against them. It's just, look, I will tell you this. Here's my assessment of the game against McNeese State, because I had people texting me, we got to throw the ball down the field. This team was not going to allow any big plays. And somehow we got a double move post for a touchdown. But other than that, they were dropping 8 and 9 guys into coverage. 8 and 9 guys into coverage. And We threw wide receiver screens. We threw intermediate stuff. I thought Mertz was great. He was very accurate, had a touchdown drop by Dante Sanders. So if y'all had a problem with that, all the people that support and love Anthony Richardson, which we all do, what was his first touchdown pass of his NFL career, JC? Do you know?
Well, I watched the game yesterday, but
it was a wide receiver screen.
I don't remember the play.
He threw it sideways, not even past the line of scrimmage, and the guy ran 38 yards for a touchdown. So look, that's part of football. Watch every team that plays football, they throw wide receiver screens. It's a way to get the ball out of your hand, away from all the mess inside the box, and it's basically a run play. So there you have it. I was trying to read this one here. John says Gators are number 3 in total defense, number 7 third down defense. I know it's only 2 games, but it's been a drastic turn. Yeah, I mean time will tell. Tennessee is a good football team. Tennessee is not the football team they were last year. I can promise you that. They are not. Again, I want to give our thoughts go out to everything that happened on 9/11. I forgot today was 9/11. I remember exactly where I was in my townhouse in Chicago. It was a day off for the Bears, and I was sitting there watching the news, and I was like, holy moly, what is going on?
22 years ago. That is kind of hard to believe, isn't it? 22 years ago. These football players that played on Saturday were not alive for the most part. Wow, that's 9/11. How about that? On a happier note, QB, I went 7-5 in our Peachland Dental picks, and you chose to go 4-8. That's not a great start, QB. No. But we do have a game tonight.
I did get screwed. I got screwed royally.
You got screwed
in the Texas Tech Oregon game. Did you see how that ended?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. They were getting
last play of the game, and the kid gets hit, and it turns into a pick 6, or I would have covered.
You would have covered that one. But that's sometimes how it works out. I was very impressed with Tulane for about 3/4 of the game against Ole Miss.
Well, they didn't have their quarterback.
I know. They were playing a backup, and the kid has played before. He wasn't bad. But I think Tyler Van Dyke stole the day in the afternoon of all those games, other than the Colorado Buffaloes, who, by the way, played a team that literally just handed the game away. Colorado, take nothing away from them, but Nebraska was right there with them the entire first half, and then their quarterback decided to just fumble the ball game away. But I
want to talk about Colorado for a second. That was the first time I actually got to watch Colorado. I watched most of the game, and again.
Uh-oh. Where'd he go? I think Shane froze up. He looks in pain right there, that picture. Well, I think he was going to talk about Nebraska and Colorado. And I think what he was going to say was how Sanders, as a quarterback, looked. He's going to talk about Shedeur Sanders. Nebraska played them head up first half, but their quarterback, Jeff Sims, who was a transfer from Georgia Tech, just gave the ball away. He couldn't even take a snap out of the shotgun. It was awful to watch. Nebraska-Colorado is a big, big rivalry. And, that's a big win for Colorado. They stormed the field. They have sold out every game. Their merchandising sales, I've said this before, is up 700% since last year. So it was fun to watch. But Miami, the Hurricanes are dramatically improved, and you have to tip your cap to Mario Cristobal, who literally fired his entire coaching staff almost, and certainly changed the offense, keeping Tyler Van Dyke, keeping him on the roster from transferring, with Shannon Dawson, who's the offensive coordinator at Miami. And my God, 5 touchdown passes, no interceptions. He was a helmet sticker kind of guy. And I hope as far as helmet stickers go, we would love to get QB's internet a helmet sticker. Maybe he ought to try to relog in. QB, are you there? Are you there? Yeah, he's still in the quiet zone. Get out of the Smoky Mountains, QB, and get a signal. Maybe you can get a signal out of the Smoky Mountains there. You're stuck in the Smoky Mountains. Can you hear us? Is he down there? Poor QB. Maybe
Can you hear
unmute it.
me?
Now you
Yeah.
unmuted it. Good job,
Well,
QB. You were Smoky Mountains.
I
My
tried
God.
I tried to call on the phone and Zach didn't want to let me in, so I don't know what's going on. But back to Shadur Sanders.
That's who I
I don't
think
think
we're gonna
Colorado's a
talk
very good football team, but I will tell you what, he's a legit quarterback.
about. Yeah.
He throws a extremely catchable football. He's accurate. He's got great pocket awareness. He's the reason why Colorado is doing what they're doing. I mean, I think he's outstanding.
Now listen, they've improved their roster though too, QB. But you're
Well,
right.
they have, but what I'm
He's the
saying is
leader.
we'll see how they match up when they play some of the really good teams. As I was saying, Jeff Sims, they probably don't win the game, but Jeff Sims basically just said, "Here, take the football. I do
And
not
run
want
the
to play for Nebraska. I'm gonna give the ball to Colorado." He did it four
Right.
times, and
It's
they continue to
awesome.
let me play.
He couldn't take
But
snap.
Shadur Sanders is a really good player.
Well, they're going to
Really
beat
good.
they're going to beat Colorado State. And then we're going to find out what they are all about at Oregon, and then with USC the following week. So, I mean, those are two games they probably won't win. But listen, they're going to go 3-0. They're going to beat Colorado State, and everybody's talking about it. They're the story. But that's okay. I mean, Joe Klatt says they're the biggest story in sports. Forget college football. I mean, when you consider where they've come from. So. And what they're doing right now. But I was, while you were visiting somebody else in the Smoky Mountains there, I was talking about Miami and how they changed their entire coaching staff, and starting with the offensive coordinator with Shannon Dawson, and how he's really done a good job so far with Tyler Van Dyke. 5 touchdown passes, I mean, against Texas A&M is a hell of a day. Hell of a day. It's a hell of a day.
And Gene wants to know your thoughts on the big win the Auburn Tigers had against the Cal Bears out on the West Coast.
Well, that game, if the hour of the day didn't put you to sleep, watching those two teams play offense would put you to sleep. Auburn is going to win maybe 6-7 games at the most this year in the SEC. But Auburn, it's a long trip. It was a good win for them. They pulled it out in the fourth quarter. It was 14-10. California couldn't get out of their own way with the mistakes. Once again, this is how you lose football games. Just watch Alabama, watch Nebraska, watch California this past weekend. That's how you lose games. I'll tell you, Auburn, Hugh Freeze, he's got a lot of work to do with their quarterback situation.
Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Okay. Van Der, JC, I'm gonna let you answer this.
Well, I was just talking about Auburn.
Hang on. He says there's Shane being his usual self. Seems like black people just can't catch a break. What have I said about any black people?
Well, you just said Shadur Sanders was a great quarterback.
He obviously needs to get some Q-tips and clean his ears out. I don't know what the hell he's listening to.
Shadur Sanders is Deion's son. In fact, Deion has. We forgot about the other kid he's got. He's got another one
safety,
playing defense named Shiloh. But another kid that they had that transferred from Jackson State is Travis Hunter, who was recruited primarily by Florida State and decided to go to be with Deion at Jackson State, and Deion took him to Colorado, and he's a two-way player. I don't know if anybody does that in college football anymore, but he's doing it right now in Colorado. It's a great story. I think they'll be 3-2 after 5 weeks of football. They'll beat Colorado State, they'll lose at Oregon, and probably will lose to Southern Cal. So now they'll score on Southern Cal. I will tell you that they will score on them, but they probably won't be able to stop Southern California. But what I was saying was this Miami team impressed me, and it wasn't so much of how bad A&M was. I'm not a big A&M guy, but
I'm not anymore because they. There's something going on there. They got too many good players to be as bad as they are.
I don't know what it can be. You watch them play over and over again. They just don't tackle, dude. I haven't watched Texas A&M tackle people in years. But you always score a lot of points on them. If you notice, look at their scores. They do not tackle. But Arizona Mississippi State was a great game. Went into overtime. Mississippi State held on. It was a good win for Zach Arnett at Mississippi State. But reality will hit them this weekend with LSU coming to town. But you never know; they could beat LSU.
Did you see? I don't know if you saw some of that game. I saw some of the highlights and give Mississippi State a lot of credit. That game went into overtime. And one of Coach Spurrier's longtime assistants, Jed Fish, is the head coach at Arizona. He's done a tremendous job there. But he got to transfer a quarterback I forget the kid's name, but this is year 2 that he's played for him. But they had a 4th and 20, fourth and
Deloria.
20 in overtime. This
Yeah.
dude ran probably 75 yards and
Yeah.
missed it by about 2 inches as he was
That far.
tackled.
That far.
Yeah,
It
was
took
crazy.
instant replay to show his elbow was down. His name is Jay Deloria. He's from Hawaii.
Yeah.
He's from Hawaii.
He was at, I want to say he was at Washington State, and Jed got him to transfer to Arizona.
They are much better. It is so amazing to me when you watch college football, dude. It is so amazing to me. You can throw everything out there. If the quarterback isn't a primetime player, your team is probably going to struggle. You have to have a quarterback in college football. All the teams that won this weekend, Colorado, Miami, Texas, Mississippi State, their quarterbacks are excellent. And look at Notre Dame. Sam Hartman couldn't beat NC State to save his life. He's now with Notre Dame. They look good to me too, QB. I like what I've seen out of Notre Dame. As Sam Hartman is a fantastic quarterback. And Alabama struggles with a quarterback that's not proven, and he turns the ball over. And that's the difference to me. That to me is all this other stuff about defense, specialties. It's important. But without a quarterback in college football, forget it. You're not winning.
Yeah. Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. Speaking with JC on the Titan More Hotline, we'll get Scott Carter's comments on the game the other night. I got a question, and I'm going to ask Scott, and a lot of our listeners who were at the game may understand it. This whole LED lighting thing that they put in the song, I don't understand it. I couldn't figure it out. I thought the lights were supposed to go orange and blue when they turn them off. But anyway, again, from the press box, it's hard for us to see a lot of stuff.
Well, that's a Scott Carter question. You're right. That's definitely a Scott Carter question. I don't know what you get out of this game with McNeese State other than a good time, because you don't really learn. Yeah, you don't learn a whole lot, but you're going to learn a lot Saturday. And I will be very excited to watch this game Saturday night with Tennessee. Tennessee, for its part, I don't think they weren't paying attention to Austin Peay, but they didn't necessarily play particularly great against that team either. And why would they, right? They're coming off a big win. They've got Florida looking ahead of them. These weekend games where you play these teams they have no business playing for, these paycheck games, are hard for me to assess. They're just hard for me to watch. They're hard for me to assess. I know it's great for those programs and those kids to play in these big stadiums. Fine. But for the rest of the free world, it is hard to watch. In fact, I don't even like watching it. But it's kind of like watching preseason NFL. It doesn't show me anything that I really am interested in watching. I'm glad that Montrell Johnson scored a touchdown. I think it's great that Graham Mertz was throwing the ball accurately. And that's fine. But again, you have to remember, they're doing it against a team they shouldn't even be playing. And they're playing them because of economics. Simple as that. But it's a good thing that they played them instead of Tennessee this weekend. So I think we're going to learn a lot more this Saturday. What's that, QB? He needs an infrastructure rebuild. My man needs an infrastructure rebuild. I don't know. It doesn't really matter that you run the score up on a team you shouldn't even be playing. But what does matter is that it's a good night to have a good time, and people that stay healthy. It's very important not to have injuries in these games. That Florida Gators needed something good to be displayed, and so they did that. And they had that night for them. 88,000 fans had a great time. Opening game Saturday. We're going to get back to the real world and play a real team. And if they can light up Tennessee, then I'll get excited. That's kind of where I'm at with this past weekend. I have to confess, I didn't watch much. Okay, there he is. Reboot, QB. Get that infrastructure rebuild. I think QB needs an infrastructure rebuild. Gene was asking about Auburn, California. Snore. Tough trip for Auburn to take, though. That's not an easy trip to go out there. And in the NFL yesterday, I was impressed with Tampa Bay. QB, are you with us again?
Yes. Okay. Enough of the NFL right now. I got to get to Alan's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melon-Law. I don't know what's going on with the internet. It is what it is. It's live. Crap happens.
Terrible infrastructure.
Can you guys break down the primary things that will decide the Gators and the Vols? I will tell you the number one priority for the Florida Gators in this game to win it. Stop the run. Because Josh Heupel wants to run the football. If you look at their stats on all the wins that they win under him, it's when they run the ball with success. So the bottom line is we need to shut down their run game. Make Joe Milton throw the football. I do not think he can beat us throwing it. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen much of him. I mean, he started these first two games, and this game that they played Saturday was nothing to show. That first game they played against Virginia. Remember, Virginia is a very poor team.
Terrible. They lost to James Madison at home.
James Madison, they had that. They're just not a good team. So Tennessee hasn't been tested either. I think Florida has been tested. Florida needs to be tested again, and they will on Saturday. Look, the athletes will be very similar, right? There's going to be a team now that's going to match up with you athletically, coaching-wise as well. Heupel's excellent coach. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough game. I don't think it's going to be an easy game at all. I think we're looking at a game that comes into the fourth quarter, that goes deep into the fourth quarter. I think it's going to be a close game, QB.
Yeah. All right, JC, let's touch on the NFL real quick before we get to Scott Carter.
Sure.
Boy,
big day.
Is there anybody more explosive than the Miami Dolphins?
Tyreek is uncoverable. They can't cover that kid. And if Tua stays healthy, that team's going to score on everybody. I want to point out also that, the teams that really showed me something yesterday, Tampa Bay going to Minnesota with Baker, first game ever, and winning on the road at Minnesota. And then how about Jordan Love with Green Bay? 38 points against the Bears. They own the Bears. They never lose to the Chicago Bears. It doesn't matter who's the quarterback. Then you got the Rams. Nobody's looking at the Rams this year. And Stafford and Tutu Atwell just could not be covered yesterday. Stafford was excellent for the Rams. They win at Seattle. I was impressed with that. And I was impressed with Dallas's defense. Just absolutely. I mean, that game was watching Florida make me stay. It was never.
I don't know if I've ever seen.
I've never seen a defense.
I've ever seen an NFL team
not block,
just be that poor up front. I mean, Daniel Jones had no chance.
And then the teams that drafted quarterbacks really struggled yesterday because they played all of them. Stroud, Young, Richardson, they all lost, but it wasn't bad. And you can't expect big things for a rookie to come in on his first game and just set the world up.
But again, JC, I will go to my grave.
Yep.
And Andy said, and it brings up Andy goes, this is brought to you by Mental Law. Could not believe the Bears were favored yesterday. Shane is right about Justin Fields. Right. He's a tremendous athlete. He cannot throw the football.
I don't know why.
On a consistent.
I do not know why people think he can. We've seen this. It's just, it never ends. You cannot do this show with your internet situation. You need to call Cox Cable. Are you there? Well, listen, I think he was talking about Justin Fields. And Justin Fields, I agree with him. The Bears aren't going to win anything with that guy. They're not. Sorry. I was impressed, though, with a lot of what I saw yesterday from teams like the Rams and the Buccaneers. And even Atlanta won a game yesterday. The Saints didn't look necessarily that good. Washington got a win with the new ownership. And Jacksonville with a 10-point win at Indianapolis. Good game for them. Kansas City is coming to Jacksonville on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes, I'm pretty sure Travis Kelce will play. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a dogfight in in Jacksonville. And Kansas City, it's hard to see them going 0-2, but they might. They might. With Jacksonville at home on that game. The place is going to be rocking on Sunday afternoon.
I'm back.
Oh, okay, yeah, give up on the internet, dude. Call Cox.
I gave up. I'm calling via the phone. We had to make a change at the line of scrimmage. But real quick before we let you go,
Fields. You're talking
what
about
do you think about?
Go ahead.
How about Joe Burrow's performance after being the highest paid player of all time?
Well, yeah, and it was not just Joe Burrow. The whole Cincinnati team forgot to show up and give Cleveland a lot of credit. They're paying Watson half of Ohio. They got a little bit of that money's worth yesterday. I don't know. Cleveland looks good on defense, but you're right. The Bengals were terrible. San Francisco is the team, to me, with Philadelphia. That's the class of the NFC, and you can throw Dallas in there close. But San Francisco and Philadelphia, to me, in the NFC. And in the AFC, I think the Dolphins are a team that you better keep your eye on. Tonight, you're going to see two good games. Who do you like, Buffalo or the Jets?
Oh, man. Let's pick that game. The Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation is number one choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. I'll take the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, Buffalo is laying 2. A lot's going to be on the line. Jets, Aaron Rodgers' debut there. But I think Buffalo is the more stable team right now. New York's going to have some issues blocking Buffalo. I'll take the Bills, but I would not be surprised to see the Jets win. But I'll take Buffalo.
Real quick, Mitch says on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing. You'll like this one, JC. Mitch says Shane is having a Mitch McConnell moment.
Yeah,
keep freezing up.
Freezing up, poor Shane. Well, we got to get that figured out, dude. You got to get sick.
Well, I haven't had problems till now. So it is what it is. Real quick, also, John says Indy's going to get Richardson hurt. No, Anthony's the one taking off running.
Yeah,
that's just I'm telling you, those are grown men that are trained killers, and they're going to hurt the quarterback. That's what they're paid to do when guys take off running.
Yes, that's 100% right. I think he's going to learn quickly, though. I don't think he's necessarily foolish enough to keep doing this. It is brutal, the amount of hits he took yesterday, and to his credit, he got up, but boy, he was woozy at the end of the game. Not sure. So the NFL did not disappoint yesterday, but there was some surprises for sure.
Yep. All right, JC, we're going to get to Scott Carter. We appreciate your time. Vivo says hello. Have a good day. JC, join us Titan Number Hotline. We're going to take a quick timeout. Come back. We're joined by senior writer from FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Attention all Gator fans, Meldon Law is giving away a chance to experience the Florida-Georgia game like never before. 2-night stay at the Hilton on the River, dinner at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, 2 premium tickets to the game, and a football signed by Coach Billy Napier, and much more. Go to the Meldon Law Facebook page and look for the VIP experience for 2. Good luck and go Gators!
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. 1966 HBC beers available at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, Gator Games in the Swamp, and select retail outlets. Crisp American Lager, that's 1966 HBC beer. We're going to head to the Titan More Hotline now. We're joined by senior writer from FloridaGators.com, Scott Carter. Good morning, Scott. How you doing, my man?
Good morning, Shane. Doing pretty well. A little better, or at least a lot of my friends and people I know are in a better mood than the last time we talked, so that's always good.
Real quick before we jump into recapping the game, Nor has a question here brought to you by Meldon Law on Facebook Live. He says, anyone know why Mertz didn't stay with Wisconsin for his last year, fifth-year graduate student? Did he get beat out by another QB slinger? Yes and no. But as I always said, I don't know why anybody would want to go play quarterback at Wisconsin. You know the answer to that, Scott?
I remember talking to him in the spring about that. I mean, he just evaluated everything once Paul Christ was let go. And he said, a new coach, a new system, and it's one of those things. He'd been there for a while, so I think he was just looking for a fresh start. That's the day and age that they live in. If you get kind of tired of one place or you wear out your welcome, Shane, you can look around and find another place. And that's kind of what he did. And that's just what I thought his answer was.
Yep, and he actually has 2 years left to play. He's really a redshirt junior. All right, let's talk about the game the other night. Obviously, everybody knew they were going to beat McNeese, but for the most part, as coach speak, it was a clean football game. What stood out to you, Scott?
Precisely that. It was clean. The Gators did exactly what they needed to. The worst thing they could have done, Shane, was come out there and the first drive have a penalty or something. They would have probably heard some boos. But they had they scored touchdowns on their first 7 drives of the game, and that's hard to do no matter who you're playing. Obviously, they were playing an overmatched opponent in McNeese, but they still came out, took care of business, responded to the tone and the urgency that Billy Napier set during the week, and I thought it was a nice kind of appetizer for doing what they needed to do with Tennessee coming to town. So I just look back at that game more than anything was they went out and took care of the business they needed to.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that went wrong at Utah, they got corrected in this game. I don't remember the last time hearing the PA address announcer, the public address announcer, number 8 is now wearing number 81. We got the number thing situated on special teams. I thought Trey Wilson, I remember vividly on a punt return, he put his heels on like the 7-yard line, and the McNeese punter, who was outstanding all night, by the way, punted one over his head. He did not move. The ball hit like at the 1 and backed up to like the 2 or 3, but he did not try to field it. So I think there was good learning lessons. I thought they were, very efficient pretty much everywhere during that game. Obviously, from an offensive standpoint, I'm sure you heard this or maybe heard it in the press box. I had people texting me during the game, why are we not throwing the ball down the field? Well, if you could see all 22, these dudes were not going to let you throw the ball down the field. I don't know if I've ever seen in a college football game people play that soft.
Yeah. They were definitely playing soft coverage, and it was like, okay, you're going to beat us, you're going to run the ball. And I think that's exactly what happened. I mean, the Gators rushed for 327 yards, 6 touchdowns on the ground. They did get the ball to a Pearsall for the 50-yard score later on. But, yeah, I think part of that, Shane, was obviously, like you said, the defensive mentality that McNeese had, but also, Florida, they wanted to establish the run game because that's going to be their bread and butter, I think, this year with Johnson and Etienne. And now, they got Trayon Webb some carries to get him into the mix, build that confidence for the freshman. I just think that's going to be what makes this Florida offense at its best. And then it will definitely open things up for Graham Mertz later on. But, yeah, the running plan was the running attack was the plan against McNeese without question.
Yeah, for sure. We got a couple of questions. I was going to ask you this because I don't quite understand it. Mandy on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, says, I couldn't tell on TV, but did the new LED lights work the way they were supposed to? You know, Scott?
I have to admit, I don't know a lot about the LED lights. I know that's a big thing. I know they went off. The only thing I know about them, Shane, is like right after the Graham Mertz score, I was looking for a really good picture of him being so excited. And they were all in the dark. So, I know that's just the way the new lights are. We've been using them at baseball for a while. I think maybe they're still working some things out there. I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I thought it was supposed to be a bunch of orange and blue flashes, but I didn't notice it from our box. But it's hard to see a lot of stuff in our box. It's so small and underneath the overhang. So, all right, defensively, we had a couple of questions here on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing. It says, Shamar James with 19 tackles through 1.5 games, prime for all SEC in your opinion, Scott?
Well, he's in the running. I mean, he was a guy that got, all SEC freshman last year. And I look at him, what he's done through the first 2 games. He certainly is playing that way. I think right now he's led the team in tackles both games. So Shamar just looks to me like one of those old school Gator linebackers that, he's got real potential, I think, to continue to grow into that position. But he's a big player for this current team. I like what he's done the first couple of weeks, and he's going to have to continue to get better because now they go into the SEC portion of the schedule. But the thing when I think about this team right now, Shane, I mean, it's only after 2 games. The one thing that really sticks out to me more than anything are players like Shamar James, Jordan Castell, Sharif Denson. You look at a lot of these new guys who are playing early, and guess what? They look like they belong here. And I haven't been able to say that about a lot of newcomers the last 2 or 3 years. It's like, no, that guy doesn't look like the kind of player the Gators used to get. But so it's making me feel good that I'm feeling that way again because these guys look like they're players.
I agree with that. We got a text on the Titan More text line from George. He says, Scott, did we make it out of the game without any injuries? And what's the update on Kingsley for Tennessee?
Well, the goal is to have Kingsley back for Tennessee. I mean, you saw basically about every guy who was questionable last week. They were all on the sideline Saturday night. So, we'll know more. We're meeting with Billy later this morning about noon. So I'm sure he'll give us a little bit of an update on Kingsley and the rest of those guys. But as far as new injuries, nothing that I'm aware of as I sit here right now. But I think that game was just to make sure you get those guys who were banged up, give them a week and to get ready and give the young players a lot of opportunity and hopefully go out there and win a game pretty smoothly. And again, in the master plan, I think that things went pretty well for Billy Napier in week 2, certainly better than week 1. And now what we get is week 3, which is what everybody's wanting to see, Shane.
Yeah, this is a big one for sure. Another text on the Titan MR text line from Jim in Atlanta. He says, Scott, I'd like your assessment of Graham Mertz through 2 games. I know how Shane feels about him, but what do you think of him as a player?
Here's something that caught me off guard in the post-game notes. I'm looking at him, and it says Graham Mertz has 526 yards passing through his first 2 games as a Gator, the second most in school history behind Shane Matthews, who had 590, I think it was. Yes, so that kind of surprised me, but we all know he threw for the 333 against Utah in a losing cause, which was his career high. I really look at Graham Mertz as to what little sample size we have. I think he's been as advertised and almost exactly what the Gators need to me. I mean, has he blown people away with his arm deep down the field? No, but I don't think that was the plan, and I don't think that will be the plan while he's at Florida. They want him to manage the offense, to make the plays that are there, to provide really good decision-making when there are plays that can go either way, avoid those mistakes. And, I mean, he's going to have to be a bigger playmaker as the season goes on, obviously, but I don't think he's done anything in my eyes that, sets off alarm bells. I think he's really done a pretty nice job of managing the team. And he just got this veteran presence about him that I think they've been lacking last couple of years at that position. A guy who just, he's not going to get rattled. He's just not going to get rattled. And he's not going to be able to do some things that, Emory Jones or Anthony Richardson was able to do athletically. But he may do some things in terms of decision-making and just staying away from the mistakes that are actually more beneficial. So we'll see how it plays out. It's still only 2 games in. I'm very interested to see him against Tennessee and the increased competition.
Yeah, for sure. He has been pretty solid for the most part. Scott, the thing offensively that stood out to me the most the other night, and I was preaching this, I don't know if Billy Napier listens to my podcast or not. You think he listens to it, Scott?
I don't know. Probably not when I'm on here, but maybe if it's just you, yeah.
Yeah. So, I said after the Utah game, let's play number 1, 3, and 4 at the wide receiver position and don't pull them out of the game until they're tired. So for the most part, even against McNeese, they played almost the entire game until we made some substitutions at all positions. I was just happy to see that because I think those three guys are our best three wide receivers.
Yeah, I agree. And, they need experience and some rhythm with Mertz. We talked to Ricky Pearsall after the game, and he was asked about that play at Utah where the ball got there a little bit before he turned around. And he says, look, that's just timing. We'll get there. And those are kind of plays that you certainly don't want to see on your side of the field. But that just comes through repetition, through, getting together in game action and finding that rhythm. So I do like what they're doing there at receiver. And I like Mertz being able to get them the ball. And I think we'll see that stretched out some as the season progresses. But again, I like kind of where the offense certainly was in game 2, with Mertz throwing almost 200 yards, the running game getting going. And that's just what it's going to have to be for Florida to have a successful season. The running game is I look at it about a 60-40 balance probably. They're probably wanting to have, 60% of the yards on the ground, 40% passing. We'll see how that, plays out.
Text on the Titan Mark text line from Robert in Charlotte, North Carolina. He says, Scott, how big of a game is this Tennessee game in the Swamp on Saturday night?
Well, I think it's always big. That's the old cliche, right? Tennessee, Florida, it gets everybody excited. But I do think it is big in terms of where the program is. They went up there last year and they lost that one in a shootout. And Tennessee went on to have a really good year. Now people are saying, well, Tennessee is finally back under Josh Heupel. They've moved ahead of Florida in the SEC since everybody tries to catch Georgia. But, you can quickly step back above them by beating them at home on Saturday. And I think this is a really good barometer for a young Florida team. I mean, I think most people probably expect Tennessee to win if they don't have a Florida address or, wear orange or blue a lot. But I think this is a very winnable game. I look at Tennessee. I saw what they did against Austin Peay on Saturday. Nothing blew me away. I don't think Joe Milton III is the quarterback that Hendon Hooker was. I think he's good. He's dangerous. But I think Florida, answered the bell Saturday. They got some confidence. They got their legs back under them. And now you got to go out there and Tennessee and show what they really learn and have grown. So we'll see. It's going to be a tough challenge, but I think it's winnable. But yes, to answer the question, I mean, I do think in the big picture, this could be a very big game in terms of just the way this season unfolds.
Alan asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon, do you guys think that Tennessee will blitz a lot to rattle Mertz? I mean, they'll mix it in. If you're a good offense, you want teams to blitz you because it gives you an opportunity at huge plays. I will tell you this, Graham, from a mental standpoint, has done a tremendous job getting us in and out of plays for the most part. I think he'll be prepared for the blitzes. Scott, I wanted to ask your thoughts going into this game. I think the key to this game is Florida stuffing the Tennessee run because they think of Josh Heupel throwing the football, but it really is he likes to spread those receivers really wide to the sidelines and run the football. So that's the key to me. But do you think Billy, I know he wants to run the football, but is there any way you think he can come out throwing? Because what in the hell happens if we happen to get ahead of somebody? We finally had a lead. The other night was the first time we've had a lead in a football game since we played South Carolina at home last year.
It's amazing. Yeah. It felt different. That's for sure. And I didn't really think about it in that terms until you just mentioned. I mean, I know we lost 4 in a row, so you haven't had many leads before last weekend. But yeah, I mean, that's one way that maybe they could surprise the Vols, change it up a little bit. I'm interested to see what you were talking about there for a second, what Josh Heupel likes to do offensively. I'm interested to see how that may change Austin Armstrong's approach on defense. The defense coming off a really, really good game, only 112 yards allowed against McNeese. That's you say, well, it's against McNeese. Well, we haven't seen Florida hold anybody that few yards in 7 years. So I still say it was a pretty good defensive effort overall. And really the defense, through 2 games has given up less than 200 yards. So it's going to be an interesting chess match between Armstrong's kind of what he's doing against what Heupel wants to do. But to answer your question about the flow throwing the ball, hey, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I'd be surprised if they suddenly come out and start throwing all over the field. But you know what? That's what the plan is. I mean, that's why I like these kind of games, because there's definitely, I think, a little bit of a chess match with these coaches. I mean, they haven't faced each other but one time, so they're still trying to figure each other out a little bit too.
Rozoga State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. All right, Scott, last thing before we get you out of here. Real quick, the Facebook Live, there's a question here. Alan says, so what's the latest line on this game? I thought somebody told me Tennessee's favored by 3. I'm not 100% sure on that, though.
Sounds about right. I don't know either.
Yeah. You got any good stories on this game? Do we have anybody from the state of Tennessee on our football team? I put you on the spot, didn't I?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know. I'm guessing there might be a guy or two, but Tennessee doesn't really put out a lot of players. I mean, no disrespect to Coach Spurrier because he's from Johnson City, where I was born up in that area, and we talk about this. East Tennessee really just is not a football producing place. You got to go out to Chattanooga and West. So off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody.
Yeah. All right. Are you got any good articles, stories you're working on this week so people can go to the website and read them?
Well, I mean, a lot of preview stuff, and hopefully he's not going to factor into this game because you won't see Graham Mertz going there. But I'm curious about this Micah Leon guy. He's got a heck of a story that he played the other night. So Gator fans heard a little bit about it on TV. So I'm going to meet up with him and try to see what the real story is there. But just some stuff like that. A lot of preview. We'll dive into the matchup. And hey man, it's the SEC opener, so you know how it is. The energy gets a little bit higher this week.
Yeah, it should be a great week. You will get tired of Rocky Top for sure. They'll be blasting that all day, every day at practice. Scott, good stuff as always, my man. We appreciate your time. Let everybody know how they can follow you on Twitter.
Pretty simple, at Gator Scott.
Pretty simple. And you're a simple guy. All right, Scott Carter. Appreciate your time, my man.
Thank you, Shane. Bye-bye.
Scott Carter joining us on the Titan MR hotline. This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. In 2005 at the U.S. Open Men's Tennis, Roger Federer retains his title and beats Andre Agassi, and that would have been Andre Agassi's last appearance in a Grand Slam final. That's 2005, brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. Want to give Coco Golf a shout out too. Congratulations, 19 years old. That's pretty amazing. David on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, asks, who was my favorite receiver and why? I'd probably go with Willie Jackson. He was very reliable. All the top-notch receivers came after I left with Danny, but I had some good solid guys, Aubrey Hills, Harrison Houston, Ernie Mills. Kirkpatrick was a very good tight end. But Willie, I had Willie for at least 2 years, I think. We had a good rapport for sure. Tomorrow's program will have Buddy Martin. We got some other stuff in the mix as well. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Sorry for the internet issues. Don't know what happened, but that happens sometimes, right? Got to just deal with it and move on. So we appreciate you folks hanging in there, and JC taking care of stuff as well. Jeff, real quick before we get out of here, who do you guys think Florida brings as offense coordinator next year? Oh, isn't that the $1 million question? I don't know if that's going to happen. Greg says Vols open as an 8.5-point favorite. I don't know if that's correct, Greg. That may have been like in the summertime or something. I had 2 people tell me it was 3 and 4 on the text line. So we will see. So anyway, hope y'all had a great day out. Have a great day out there. Real quick, Silverback Concrete, family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures for unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete. You stand on it, we stand by. Have a great day, folks. We will see you tomorrow. Take care.